the death toll, has surpassed 35,000 people. And millions who have survived have been left homeless, sleeping in cars and tents in freezing conditions. Well, many of those affected are children, and for more on this, I'm joined now by Child Protection Specialist with UNICEF, Carmen Monclus. Very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Now, I understand you've been working on UNICEF's response in northwest Syria. What are the main issues facing children there?
Yes, good morning to all of you. Well, as you have seen, the impact of the earthquake had been disproportionately affected children. We do have now a situation where we're moving towards recovery slowly after the rescue efforts. We have about approximately what we think is an estimate for now is 1.8 million children in need of humanitarian assistance, and this is quite an immediate figure. Among them, we find a lot of unaccompanied and separated children, as it is very normal after a natural disaster of this dimension. So all efforts are being made for doing the family tracing and reunification on one hand, while at the same time keeping these children safe and increasing our safeguards. Particularly now, it's very important these children are granted the protection and the care that they need. We do have a family tracing and reunification mechanism. The teams are working around the clock for as much as it's humanly possible at the moment. We are also providing psychosocial support and mental health to the children and their parents and caregivers. Slowly, our teams are coming active. We might recognize that a lot of the people affected population have been the agency themselves also on the ground, the agencies who are actually delivering those services. So at the time where we have so many needs and we see how exponentially it has impacted children, it's when we have less muscle than before. We already departed from a very low baseline. As you know, we had an armed conflict ongoing in the region, and therefore there was already an emergency response. So now all efforts are being made to reactivate it, to renew, to make all the mobile teams that we had active and multiplicate those when it's possible, particularly in the most affected areas.
Are children in danger in Syria following this earthquake?
Indeed, they are in danger. They face multiple risks, and all efforts are being made to mitigate those and prevent those. We can talk about physical danger, of course. I mean, we're talking about high level of destruction. This hasn't been yet control. It's still under the recovery reconstruction phase, and it will be so for quite some time. We're also talking about multiple effects on their psychosocial, on their development, on their physical and emotional safety. And this is something that we're working towards that. We already had quite a specialized teams on the ground before. This was a very solid operation with all the limitations that we had. But it is essential now that we continue and revitalize those structures that we had to the highest speed possible.
Carmen, just very briefly before I let you go, it must be absolutely heartbreaking to see these children going through so much, especially after 12 years of war. What is happening to children who've been orphaned or separated from their parents?
Well, as I said initially, we do have a family tracing and reunification mechanism, which is it's being managed from this house, from the UNICEF house here in cross-border in Gaziantep. All children that are found separated or are indications that are separated must be registered. This is essential. This is the very initial step. Very important that every child is registered in those circumstances. An initial assessment is made. It's an individual assessment. Every child is different, and opportunities and challenges may vary from one child to the other. And therefore, a response to that child will be tailored to that. The best interest of the child are an absolute priority in each of those cases. There won't be a solution that suits them all. It's rather a very intense labor type of work that the teams are doing, trying to identify what's the best solution for every individual child. Many of those children may appear initially separated, but then it's found out they're not. So it's all this kind of work, which requires a lot of accuracy, a lot of rigor, is what is required at the moment.
Okay, Carmen Monclus, we're going to have to leave it there. Carmen Monclus from UNICEF, we appreciate you taking time while you're doing so much important work. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and have a good morning. Bye-bye.
You too, thank you. Now, as we've been reporting, the United States has accused Beijing of